Page 40, Chapter 3. From farm to factory, turning bombs into fertilizer. It may seem that I've given corn too much credit. After all, corn is just a plant. How could a plant take over our food chain and push out almost every other species? Well, it's had some help from the US government. The heart of the industrial food chains are huge businesses, agribusinesses. The same businesses that create new seed provide farmers with the tools and fertilizer they need to grow lots of corn. Agribusinesses also need cheap corn from which they can make processed foods and hundreds of other products. To get the corn flowing and keep it flowing, agribusinesses depend on government regulations and taxpayer money. The government started serious help back in the 1947s. That was when a huge weapon plant in Muscle Solus, Alabama, switched over to making chemical fertilizer. How can a weapons plant make fertilizer? Because ammonium nitrate, the main ingredient in many explosives, happened to be an excellent source of nitrogen. And nitrogen is one of the main ingredients in fertilizers. After World War II, the government found itself with a tremendous surplus of ammonium nitrate. There was a debate about what the government should do with the leftover bomb material. One idea was to spray it on force to help out the timber industry. But scientists in the Department of Agriculture had a better idea. Spread the ammonium nitrate on farmlands as fertilizer. And so the government helped launch the chemical fertilizer industry. It also helped to start the pesticide industry, since insect killers are based on poisonous gases developed for the war. Chemical fertilizer was needed to grow hybrid corn because it's a very hungry crop. The richest acre of Iowa soil could never feed 30,000 hungry corn plants year after year without added fertilizer. Many hybrids were introduced in the 30s. It wasn't until farmers started using chemical fertilizers in the 1950s and corn yield really exploded. There goes the sun. When George Nealon's father spread his first load of ammonium nitrate fertilizer, the ecology of his farm underwent a quick revolution. Until then, the farmer's nitrogen had been recycled in a natural loop. Lagoons used the sun's energy to fix nitrogen in the soil. Other plants used the nitrogen to grow. Animals ate the plants, and farmers recycled the nitrogen by spreading the animals' manure on the soil. But now that nailers didn't need to produce their own nitrogen, they went out and bought it. The nitrogen for the field would no longer be made with the sun's energy, but with fossil fuels. Farming was no longer an ecological loop. It was more like a factory. The farmers bought raw material, seeds, and fertilizers, and turned it into a finished product, corn. Since there was no need for lagoons to fix nitrogen, farmers could plant corn in every field every year. Animals and their pastures could be eliminated. Farming had become much simpler. Like a factory, the industrial farm produces just one product, or at most two. And like most factories, the industrial farms is powered with fossil fuels. There's the natural gas in the fertilizer and the fossil fuels energy it takes to make the pesticides, the diesel used by the tractors, and the fuel needed to harvest, dry, and transport the corn. And it all up, and you find every bushel of corn from the industrial farms requires about half a gallon of oil to grow. That's around 75 gallons of oil per acre of corn. Some estimates are much higher. Here's another way to look at it. Calories, like the calories in food, are units of energy. One of the industrial farms, it takes about 10 calories of fossil fuel energy to produce 1 calorie of food energy. That means the industrial farm is using up more than it is producing. This is the opposite of what happens before chemical fertilizer. Back then, the Naylor's farm produced more than 2 calories of food energy for every calorie of fossil fuel energy invested. In terms of energy, the modern farm is a losing proposition. It's too bad we can't simply drink the petroleum directly. It would be more efficient. The factory farm produces more food much faster than old solar-based farms. But the system only works as long as fossil fuel energy is cheap.